The Big Bang, the alternative to biblical creation, also has a problem, a light travel time problem of its own. It's called the horizon problem. And basically it has to do with the cosmic microwave background that we see streaming from the distant regions of the universe. We find that it's very uniform. And that shouldn't be, because in the Big Bang model, it should have different temperatures at different places. Why is it so uniform? Obviously, light energy had to travel from the hotter regions to the cooler regions to equilibrate those temperatures, but there hasn't been enough time. Even in 13.7 billion years, there's not enough time for light to travel from one side of the visible universe to the other. And so that's a light travel time problem for the Big Bang. And after all, God is omniscient, and He could have used a mechanism that we do know about, or He could have used a mechanism that we don't know about. But it's not a problem for an infinite God to get light from distant galaxies to Earth in thousands of years.
We should be reminded by the psalmist, "By the word of the Lord the heavens were made, and all the host of them by the breath of His mouth. For He spoke, and it was done. He commanded, and it stood fast." How easily we forget that the natural laws at work today are not the same rules God used to create everything. The Bible is clear. By faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the Word of God, so that the things which are seen were not made of things which are visible. So here we are, spinning 1,000 miles per hour on this globe, traveling around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour, and we think we can know with certainty the nature of light over millions of unseen years? God said something to the prophet Isaiah that sure seems to apply today. "For thus says the Lord, who created the heavens, who is God, who formed the earth and made it, who has established it, who did not create it in vain, who formed it to be inhabited. I am the Lord, and there is no other." Physicist Dr. Russell Humphreys has developed a very practical and grounded theory that explains the light travel phenomena. First, a short background about Dr. Humphreys. In 1984, Dr. Humphreys developed a theory based on the biblical account, which says that God created the planets out of water just thousands, not millions of years ago. Dr. Humphreys' theory was able to make several testable predictions about the magnetic fields of Mercury, Mars, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Then, years after Dr. Humphreys made his predictions, NASA space probes reached these planets and took measurements of their magnetic fields. The results? It turns out that Dr. Humphreys' predictions were right on, and the expectations of NASA, based on the evolutionary dynamo theory, were drastically off. Even with a magnetic field being 100,000 times smaller than expected, Dr. Russell Humphreys explains the light travel phenomena.
The fourth day, the Earth was just above a timeless level, and I'll explain what a timeless level is in a moment. But you see a cross-section of the trampoline here, and the vertical direction is gravitational energy, and the horizontal direction is distance away from the Earth. And you see a point at the distance away from Earth, which is billions of light years, drop down on the dotted line, and you see a little slice there that says that's a section of the waters above that are making the dent in the trampoline. So then you notice to the left of the waters above, it's mostly flat, except for a little tiny dent made by that green ball at the left, which is the Earth. That's right above a certain critical depth of gravitational energy where interesting things happen to time in Einstein's equations. So what happens to time is that below that critical level, there is no time. Time doesn't tick. You don't notice, you can't think, and there is no light, so it's dark. Here I'm going to begin to show you why this effect is so important in cosmology. During the fourth day, God created the stars. Now, I'm going to suppose it's not necessary that God created the stars in a wave moving out from the Earth on the fourth day of creation. So now let's go back to a cross-section of our trampoline. Instead of looking down on it, let's look at the cross-section again. And the point of this is that new star masses, the stars that God made, the new ones He made, dented the trampoline yet further. So there's a wave of new stars, and you notice the dent is now tilted down, and it's really deep near the Earth, and it's shallow, a little shallower at the waters above. Okay? Now we have a new scriptural effect to talk about, stretching out the heavens. God stretched the fabric of space. How do I know that? 17 verses that say things like this. God stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them out like a tent to dwell in. That's Isaiah 40:22. Imagine some big hands on our trampoline applying tension to the edges. So God stretched the fabric of space, and that would make the nearly flat region rise upward. So you can kind of imagine if you stretch the trampoline, you're going to apply more force to that ring that's sitting, making the dent, and it's going to pull it up. So here we are starting the action just after God has made the dent deeper with the stars, and now we're going to apply stretching and pull all of that up. So I want you to keep your eye on that vertical red arrow that's labeled event horizon. Things to the left of the event horizon are going to have no clocks ticking. They're going to be in the timeless zone. Things to the right of the event horizon have normal time. So you're going to watch as we stretch the fabric. We're going to raise the dent above that dotted line, and we're raising things above the timeless level. And you'll see the event horizon move to the left. And so as it moves to the left, more and more of the galaxies pop out of the timeless zone and start emitting light again. You notice it moved inward all the way to the center. And the last thing that the event horizon hits is at distance 0, which is at the Earth. So the Earth is the last thing to actually come above the event horizon. Remember, God made the new stars in a wave, and we're going to see that a timeless zone followed the new wave of stars. And then as stretching started pulling the dent out of the timeless zone, you're going to see the timeless zone here shrinking. So the Earth was the first into the timeless zone and the last out of the timeless zone. Earth time stopped during the fourth day, and the fourth day was only 24 hours of time here. If you had been there on the Earth at that point, you would have experienced no time during that timeless moment. It would not even be an eye blink. You would be able to suddenly see all the stars all at once. So the age of the universe, when Adam saw it, was just 6 days EST, Earth Standard Time. So when someone asks you how old the universe is, you should ask, whose clocks are you talking about? The ones that God gave are here on Earth. He wanted Adam and Eve to be able to see our own Milky Way. Some parts of it are 50,000 light years away from us. And Andromeda, which is 2 million light years away from us. You can see it as a patch in the northern sky. He wanted Adam and Eve to see the full glory of his universe. So I think you can see that there are answers to these questions from a biblical point of view. So I want you to be able to trust the Bible to be true.
Who is this who darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Now prepare yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me, if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? To what were its foundations fastened? Or who laid its cornerstone when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Or who shut in the sea with doors when it burst forth and issued from the womb? When I made the clouds its garment and thick darkness its swaddling band. when I fixed my limit for it and set bars and doors, when I said, "This far you may come, but no farther, and here your proud waves must stop"? Have you commanded the morning since your days began, and caused the dawn to know its place, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, and the wicked be shaken out of it? It takes on form like clay under a seal, and stands out like a garment. From the wicked their light is withheld, and the upraised arm is broken. Have you entered the springs of the sea, or have you walked in search of the depths? Have the gates of death been revealed to you, or have you seen the doors of the shadow of death? Have you comprehended the breadth of the earth? Tell me, if you know all this. Where is the way to the dwelling of light? And darkness, where is its place? That you may take it to its territory, that you may know the paths to its home. Do you know it because you were born then, or because the number of your days is great? Have you entered the treasury of snow, or have you seen the treasury of hail, which I have reserved for the time of trouble, for the day of battle and war? By what way is light diffused, or the east wind scattered over the earth? Who has divided a channel for the overflowing water, or a path for the thunderbolt to cause it to rain on a land where there is no one, a wilderness in which there is no man, to satisfy the desolate waste, and cause to spring forth the growth of tender grass? Has the rain a father, or who has begotten the drops of dew? From whose womb comes the ice, and the frost of heaven? Who gives it birth? The waters harden like stone, and the surface of the deep is frozen. Can you bind the cluster of the Pleiades, or loose the belt of Orion? Can you bring out Mazzaroth in its season? Or can you guide the great bear with its cubs? Do you know the ordinances of the heavens? Can you set their dominion over the earth? Can you lift up your voice to the clouds, that an abundance of water may cover you? Can you send out lightnings, that they may go and say to you, "Here we are"? Who has put wisdom in the mind, or who has given understanding to the heart? Who can number the clouds by wisdom? Or who can pour out the bottles of heaven when the dust hardens in clumps and the clods cling together? Can you hunt the prey for the lion, or satisfy the appetite of the young lions when they crouch in their dens or lurk in their lairs to lie in wait? Who provides food for the raven when its young ones cry to God and wander about for lack of food?